It's good, boys and girls. I'm back. It's Joel Feeney, but I'm here on the Michael Koran show. It's called Philosophy.
No, it's called Show and Tell for Adults Only.
All right, whatever.
Yes.
And I'm thrilled to be here. I'm just sitting in on Mike's show because he asked me to sit in, and I'm honored and thrilled to be here. Not just with Mike, boys and girls, but with Mike's mom, Evelyn, who I just love.
And I do too.
And it's the woman. And we're thrilled to be here with Evelyn, and we're here to ask Evelyn what's going on in her life and how it's going, and specifically if she feels like talking about it. Evelyn is 1 or 2 years older than Mike because she's his mother, and we're going to ask her what it's like being an elderly woman in Cambridge or an elderly woman anywhere for that matter.
Yes.
And Mike, if you want to...
No, Joel, keep going. No, you keep
okay.
going. Yes.
So Evelyn, that's evidently what Mike told me he was interested in having you talk about tonight.
Well, I tell everybody that I was a child bride. I was married when I was 5. So that Michael is just a few years older than I. And getting old is for the birds.
Why?
Because if you're fragile, it's hard. It's lonely if you're living alone. If you have a spouse, of course, everything's much easier. But the people I know who have aged well are into exercise, they're healthy, they're motivated, and they usually have a spouse, and they're much happier than they are if they live alone.
Well, Evelyn took up yoga at 68 and became a yoga teacher.
Yeah.
So you said that the happiest older people you know
Oh, yes.
exercise and have a spouse.
And have a spouse and and motivated to do lots of interesting things. But if you aren't well, that's not easy. And I haven't been well for the last year or so, but I'm beginning to feel better being close to my son and his optimistic characteristics, the way he carries himself, and has a wonderful sense of humor. That's the guiding light, to have a sense of humor.
That's me. If you've missed it on this show, at least I have it with my mom.
Yeah. And
that was an example of my great sense of humor, in case you missed it.
This sounds very dull so far.
Thanks, Evelyn. You just told them I was funny, and now you're telling them I'm dull.
Yeah.
Oh, now we're getting into a little family.
Yeah.
I think it would be better if Joel asked the question myself.
Okay.
My mom said getting old is a shipwreck.
Wow.
How old is your mom?
She's 103. No, she exercises. No, I don't know how old she is. She's my mother, and I don't.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But you know, to what extent, Evelyn, is being around your son, who I know you love, and you and Mike are very close, and having more of a community here than you did down in Fort Lauderdale or wherever you were.
Sarasota, yes.
Who cares?
Sarasota.
To what extent does that really ameliorate? Well, let me finish the question. All right, could you do that, even though I'm younger than you? To what extent does that ameliorate your physical distress? And to what extent is it not that significant, because if you're sick, you're sick?
You finished? Well, Michael is incredibly energizing. And when I'm with him, the humor is just incredible. And that incidentally is a wonderful healer, to have a sense of humor and have somebody to laugh with. And I find I miss that in Sarasota.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the old folks. It's very, very little to laugh about.
Why can't old folks get together and laugh just the way they No, seriously. Why is that funny?
Because the main topic of conversation is where are we going to eat tonight?
But why,
restaurant?
Evelyn? You know, you guys have a
Because
whole lifetime of experience
most
to draw on.
Most of the people.
Remember that the time when Hoover crashed the market? Oh, what a kick in the ass that was. No?
Most of the people that I live amongst are very conservative.
What about World War II? Whoa, whoopee. I'm sorry.
They're very conservative. I'm glad you're getting such a kick out of that.
I love seeing you. You know, I have so much fun when I get together with you.
I think we can switch, Evelyn. You can interview Joel.
No. I'm sorry, I interrupted. No, the question was why do, because I've heard this from older people before. Old people get together and they bitch about their illness.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Exactly.
Hey, don't you have enough sense to know that's going to be depressing and stay off that topic?
Right. It's
So why don't you do that?
Well, they don't necessarily always talk about their illnesses. They do talk about restaurants. They do talk about the weather.
It's like
But
you,
some of the women that I know are into, you know, taking care of themselves.
yeah,
They walk every morning. They have a pretty good life. But
Yeah.
but they're dropping by the wayside in my condo
yes,
because they're getting older and older and they're losing their spouses.
yeah,
So that's no fun.
no.
So what are some of the fun things? I mean, what are some of are there some things that,
Well, Sarasota, I should be talking about Cambridge, but I'm talking about Sarasota. Sarasota is a cultural center. They have wonderful concerts, wonderful plays, wonderful recreation.
but it seems to me that you have really grown much wiser and more loving with age, for sure.
Well, that's because of your love.
I'm
Because
gonna
you
throw
have.
That's what I'm not even doing that. Are you getting sick? Go ahead. I'm sorry. You two kids carry on. You're grossing out the whole city, but it's all right.
Oh boy. Well,
I thought that Sarasota was doing things like John Davidson and the Music Man. I really did not think anything serious. Like the most artistic event down there was something Burt Reynolds would produce.
oh no, they have opera.
Is that right?
They have wonderful. They have, and the great thing about Sarasota, they have top.
Topless?
Top
Sorry.
performers. Oh, you got a one-track mind.
Juvenile.
They have wonderful cultural activities, and they're so much cheaper than Cambridge or New York.
Now, what about some of the things you've really learned getting older? Let's say these
Yeah.
last few years.
Well,
I mean, I think you've learned very important things.
what do you think?
I think you've learned very important things. That's what I think.
Name one.
You've learned how to get along with your sons.
Yes,
You've learned
well,
how to get along with your husband, actually.
oh yes, that's interesting. My husband and I never got along when we were married, and then when we split, I had a heart attack. And-
Literally?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and suddenly I let go of all the anger, and I could just appreciate all the things he was doing for me.
And then you start getting...
Over the miles, even though it was,
Over the miles, mean they were 1,000 miles apart.
yeah, very far apart. And he was living with another woman, but we did love each other on a limited, clandestine relationship. And when he died just recently, it was hard. Because he took care of a lot of things for me. He took care of my medical expenses. He gave me advice. And I miss him. On that note, let's have some humor.
Your turn, Evelyn. And, yes, Joel?
You said a number of your friends in the condo have died.
Yes.
To those of us who are younger, considerably younger, or a generation younger, to me at any rate, and I think to most people my age, death remains an inconceivable concept.
Yes.
How do you perceive it?
Well, I perceive it as the end of a relationship. And I can't get spiritual because I don't know enough about spirituality. But it's very sad because there's so many people around me who have died of cancer, particularly cancer. And I feel sorry for them losing their spouse after all the years. I've been living alone for so many years that I'm pretty much
Acclimated?
acclimated. In fact, I get lonely, but I like my privacy.
Yeah.
So it's a reality that I don't know how long I can live alone. But as I said before, I do relish my privacy.
Yeah.
Do you feel in any way your husband, my father's presence after he died?
Yes.
In
Yes.
what way do
In
you
fact,
feel
I
this?
keep a couple of pictures of him. I feel the kindness, his overt love for me and the letters he wrote me, and caring letters, advice as to how to handle.
That's remembering him, and
Oh, I
understand that.
see.
But do you feel him in any way, like he was present to Scott in a dream? My mother's her other sons. Do you feel in some ways he's a presence, that he's in some ways alive even though he's died?
Oh, sure. You mean, you just don't dismiss a person after they die. You have loads and loads of memories. And I have just good memories of him. I don't remember the hard times we had together. I don't want to. I just want to remember and appreciate what he did for me.
Are we allowed to take calls?
Yeah, sure.
876-0055, folks, if you want to call in and talk about getting old and dying and being alone and being sick.
Real fun topics.
And what it's like caring for an elderly parent and having a relationship with one, and having the benefit of that relationship or missing that relationship. If you're my age or Michael's age, and your relationship with your folks has changed over the years, as it probably has, how so? And what have you done to improve it?
Wow.
876-0055. We got a few minutes left. Give us a call if you feel.
How
like
about
it.
you, Michael? What's your feelings about having an older parent?
Well, I'm so glad you're here. It's enabled me to work through some of the, we've had some fights this month.
Yeah, we've had some real heavy stuff.
And it was enabled me to work, it felt like in my body, really, because I could feel your presence, because we're living in the same apartment building, different apartments. And enabled me to get in touch with some very unpleasant feelings, feel them and work through them, so that I can feel a lot of love between us after getting, awakening some
Maybe you
feelings.
could help me work through the feelings.
I try.
Yeah.
And I feel, sometimes I can feel like a halo coming out of you. It's really quite something. What I wanted to talk about, since we've exhausted all the negative things, I think,
Yeah.
is real, because I really do think that something very special has happened to you these last few years, really. You seem more at peace with yourself, more loving and
Well, I'm
appreciative
very
in many
grateful.
ways.
I'm extremely grateful for my son's concern about me.
All three of them.
All three of them.
Yes.
And I
You should mention them. D. Scott Korn and Dr. Leonard Korn, yes.
Yes, and I'm especially grateful to them for being so, after my husband died, they practically called me every day for quite a while. And I relished it, and it was very sustaining. Helped me enormously. They're still very devoted and caring. In fact, I rely on my sons for a lot of advice, because I'm not into taking care of a lot of the paperwork that's entailed after you lose a spouse. But I've done pretty well, I must say, myself.
And you have thoughts about your whole life? Like, how do you feel about it?
Well,
Like, did you, yeah, well,
I don't have any, I think I've done a good job with my sons. I used to think the good job part of my sons were due to my husband, but now I'm giving myself a little credit. They're all scholars. They're all very well educated and very loving.